Welcome to Galaxy Brains, where Denny Carter and Patrick Daugherty expand your NFL consciousness. Big brain, Denny, lots of buzzwords. Talk about big brained. Kyler Murray calling plays for the Arizona Cardinals. What are your thoughts on this?
Kyler Murray was calling offensive plays during the third preseason game for Arizona, and it was an extremely successful drive, way more successful than when head coach Cliff Kingsbury was actually calling the plays. It makes me wonder if Kyler Murray is the one. Is he the Neo that we've been waiting for, who has trained his brain with constant, I'm going to call them simulations. You may call them video games. I'm going to say constant simulations that Kyler Murray has experienced and has exceeded in, that have now translated as a play caller in the actual NFL. This is something that head coaches need to do, and I think Kyler Murray is the model. What do you think, Pat?
Well, yeah, it was 2 drives, 2 touchdowns for Kyler Murray, and it could be a new model, but it could also just be a classic Zoomer who is better at video games than his real job. And, his real job is being an NFL quarterback, not to perfectly sequence the plays and, easily score touchdowns. And, he's supposed to leave that to Cliff Kingsbury and let him fail at that. I think he's actually being even worse at his job now, Denny.
Well, Kingsbury said, hey, look, Kyler wants to call plays. All right, you go ahead, big dog. That was a quote. You go ahead, big dog. Big dog was better than you, Cliff. I don't know. It makes me a little bit suspicious of your acumen, Cliff.
Yeah, big dog easily scored 2 touchdowns.
That's right.
But also Kyler, again, calling plays like another quarterback who's, instead of just scoring touchdowns himself, he should consider being better at his real job, is all I'm saying, instead of playing video games.
Should he be the coach and not the quarterback? We should look into it. That's all I'm saying.
Our best people are looking into it. Our best people, Denny, are looking into the 49ers quarterback situation, where in a vote of confidence of second-year starter Trey Lance, they have kept the specter who's been looming over him every day since he arrived in the NFL. Jimmy Garoppolo, who was so confident he would be traded, has taken 0 practice reps. The summer has now become the league's highest paid backup and potential trade chip, but also just potential specter haunting the every waking second of Trey Lance. What do you think this says about Trey Lance? Is he down bad? Is Jimmy Garoppolo down worse than ever? Because he's still with the San Francisco 49ers. Does it say more about Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo?
It says everything about Trey Lance. It says more about Kyle Shanahan still regretting. Terrible regret this guy feels for taking Trey Lance under peer pressure. He wanted Mac Jones. We all know that. He didn't take him because the pressure was on to take Trey Lance, a dual threat quarterback who seemed to fit the model of the future quarterback of the NFL. Jimmy coming back is decidedly terrible for Trey Lance. Now he has last year's incumbent starter over his shoulder, just waiting for the first overthrow, for the first fumble, for the first bad decision in crunch time. Kyle Shanahan is waiting too.
Well, we saw how normal this same setup has made Tua Tagovailoa's career.
Yes.
Where, every time he so much is like had an incomplete pass, Brian Flores would put in Ryan Fitzpatrick 2 years ago, and doing everything he could to shatter the young man's confidence. And Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance, I tweeted this the other day, but all Kyle Shanahan has ever wanted since he was a little boy was to draft Mac Jones. And then he logged on to the internet one time. People like you and I were very, very mean about it. Like real life lolling at the idea of taking Mac Jones. And he bought into it. He wilted. He seems like a very strong-willed man, but he didn't take Mac Jones. Mac Jones was the most pro-ready NFL quarterback last year. Trey Lance has attempted 389 passes since high school. And Kyle Shanahan is in his feelings and keeping Jimmy Garoppolo.
I actually think Kyle may have not been online. I think John Lynch got online and he went to Kyle's office and he said, Kyle, they're laughing at us. They're being very mean on the internet about us wanting Mac Jones. So we can't do this. I don't want to be a laughing stock. We're taking Trey Lance. I think that's how it unfolded.
He printed out tweets and just put 100 pages of tweets, pretty much all of them from me, about the 49ers taking Mac Jones, and then they didn't do it.
So we have to another quarterback situation in Carolina. Baker Mayfield reportedly told a sideline reporter after the Panthers' final preseason game, in which Mayfield did well. He said he was going to, quote, blank up his former team, the Browns, in week 1. We keep this show. Galaxy Brains is for the children, so we're not cursing. He's going to blank up the Browns in week 1. this is possibly the worst decision Baker Mayfield has ever made to give his former team, who obviously hates him more than anything, this material to work with going into week one. What say you about Baker's slip of the tongue?
Well, I think actually it was not a slip of the tongue, and he came to the conclusion that his former team couldn't hate him any more than they already did, and that it just basically doesn't matter what he said at this point. And by the way, I loved your editing of the swear. You did a real Stranger in the Alps edit job there. If you don't know what that means, you can look it up. A very famous basic cable edit job of the Big Lebowski. Denny, you has a future in dubbing basic cable movies, but I think Baker knows he's got nothing to lose at this point, because they, to a man, did not seem to be a big fan, even though he was a warrior and played with one shoulder. That's also maybe why they hated him, because he played with one shoulder and ruined their season. And I think he just thinks there's no such thing. There's no bulletin board material that could exceed the time he already spent in Cleveland. So he's a free man now.
Listen, this is a disaster. It exacerbated the situation by a multitude of 100. The countdown is on now. The clock is ticking to a Jim McMahon situation in which Baker Mayfield gets picked up 15 seconds after a play and body slammed on the ground by some Browns defender who has gotten a little wink nod. Hey, let's do this thing with Baker. It's a career disaster for Baker to do this.
I do think Baker's also gambling that hopefully I can be better than Jacoby Brissett for one game and we can win this game. And he's kind of betting on himself with the trash talk.
Hey, betting on yourself against Jacoby Brissett. Now that takes courage.
That takes a lot of courage. What also takes courage, Denny, is liking a tweet of you, a Photoshop of you in a Miami Dolphins uniform. This is what Lamar Jackson did, responding to a tweet earlier this week about crying. He was upset that Tony Jefferson had been released by the Baltimore Ravens. And I had to confirm this was real, because it started making the rounds. And I'm like, well, surely if Lamar liked this tweet, he has since unliked it. But Lamar's like of the tweet of him wearing a Dolphins uniform with the accompanying caption of, "You both can come and cry in a Miami Dolphins uni. Tears of joy when we host the Lombardi spelled wrong." He liked this tweet. He has kept the tweet up. The Lamar Jackson contract talk hasn't been getting any more normal with the Ravens. Do we need to be reading into Lamar Jackson liking a Miami Dolphins Photoshop and then refusing to unlike it?
So Lamar has no agent. He's constantly online chatting with fans about the negotiations that are going on.
He loves to do it.
Team, where they're guessing price points. Did they offer this? Did they offer that? And he's saying no, yes, in the middle. So you're getting close. This is a very, very unusual. First of all, he's practicing without a long-term contract. I really, Lamar seems by all accounts to be an extremely good guy. I really want this guy. I need this guy to sign. And if you could just log off until then, that'd be fantastic, Lamar. And I know you're listening.
He needs to log off, but someone along these same lines, someone who has promised to log off forever, also involving Tony Jefferson somehow, was Tyrann Mathieu, who tweeted on Monday, "The only job where youth beats out experience without the youth actually being better." He was referencing, again, Tony Jefferson being released. And then people, though, in the internet confusion thought this meant he was previewing his own release from the Saints.
Yeah.
And then he was very mad about that and has since said, "Follow me on IG. Goodbye, tweeters." It sounds like he's deleting his account. Are you saying, do you think Lamar Jackson needs to log off or delete his account? That's how we'll end the show. Does Lamar just need a simple log off until he gets his contract? Or is he nearing account deletion?
I think just logging off until you sign. Okay, you need to sign. The ink needs to be dry and everything. Paperwork needs to be filed and faxed or whatever they do. And then you're good to go. Then you can log back on. Just please stop talking about your contract on the internet.
Stop talking about your contract. Stop liking Photoshops of you in a Miami Dolphins uniform. Unless you're Denny, where it's not Photoshop, there are multiple pictures of you out there in a Miami Dolphins uniform. Because you used to be a Miami Dolphins fan. So do not delete our accounts, because that's where we link to Galaxy Brains, and we want you to watch it. And thank you so much for watching it. For Denny Carter, I'm Patrick Daugherty. We'll be back to expand your mind next week.